Sneaky Grease. This is ManDate, episode 75, part of the MBA research thesis. We have Matt here today, and Matt is from Surex Direct, and he's here to participate in the MBA research thesis on small business growth. So without further ado, Matt, please introduce yourself and tell us what Surex Direct is all about.
Sure. My name's Matt Alston. I'm one of the founders of Surex Direct. Basically, in a nutshell, we provide online home and auto insurance for Canada. A lot like providers in the States the last 5 to 15 years. We've popped up in the market up here in Canada to try to fill that gap in the marketplace.
Okay, so as of right now, or when you guys first started, there wasn't any insurances companies available in Canada?
Yeah, so the insurance industry in Canada is traditionally been dealt with through brokers. So, you know, anyone in Canada, their mom and dad would go to the local broker, walk in, deal with the same person basically on a local level. What started to happen is there's directs. We call them direct writers that have popped up, like TD Bank now directs insurance. They sell insurance direct. AMA, State Farm came up to Canada. So over the last, say, 15 to 20 years, slowly the broker channel has started losing market share to these direct writers. About 4 years ago, I owned a direct marketing company down in the States, and my friend owned a traditional brick and mortar insurance office in Alberta, and we started looking at the market and kind of what needed to change. Obviously, millennials were getting more and more relevant in the market and wanting to buy insurance, and we just kind of felt like there was a perfect opportunity, a perfect storm that was brewing. We looked at Progressive.com and Geico and Esurance, and those are all direct sellers of insurance. And in Canada, what we basically did was we created a hybrid model: the direct, the technology, the online 24/7 ability, but then also paired that with a true broker experience, being able to, do a quote online but receive 7 different prices, not just one price, and be able to, have a personal broker that gets assigned to you when you get an insurance quote. So we're able to maintain the things that people like about being a broker or using a broker, but at the same time, we give them the convenience of a direct writer.
Okay. Now, is your main target market, is it like everyday people, or is it more commercial, private companies?
Yeah, so right now, when we first started, we thought, we're going to get the 18 to 35-year-old demographic that's going to want to use our service. But we were completely wrong. The very first time we launched our site was in August 2012, and the first customer that bought from us was a 83-year-old guy named Ron, which was just like mind-blowing to me that an 83-year-old would buy his insurance online. And that kind of validated what we felt the consumers in Canada were really looking for. And from there, we sell all ages. We sell in every province except for Quebec and Ontario right now. And we've had explosive growth. We went from 0 premium August 2012. Now we have our book of business that we manage is over 20 million, and we're just growing like crazy. So we're focused on primary, principal, home and auto, but we're now launching small business packages for small entrepreneurs that work out of their home, or freelance consultants, simple businesses to insure.
Okay. And how many employees work for?
We have 32 people right now.
Are they all based in Calgary, or do you have?
So we have we have an office in southern Alberta. We're from a rural town, and some of our brokers and some of our office staff work here. We also have we hire brokers that work off-site. So we have brokers in Edmonton, Calgary, Ottawa. I have a broker that lives in Denver, Colorado, that sells in Canadian insurance but works out of his home office. So when we look to hire somebody, we don't necessarily look for somebody that's had 30 years of insurance history. We want to hire the right personality, somebody that has the same values as us, and is going to be really accessible to their clients, and then teach them how to do the insurance stuff. So it's a little opposite of traditional insurance carriers. They always want to hire somebody that's had a ton of experience. So.
So do you sell insurance in each province then?
Yep.
Does it matter which province you buy insurance in? Do they have different regulations?
Yeah, there's different regulations. There's different licensing. We're licensed. We have brokers licensed in every province. So if you're in Vancouver and we sell home insurance and business insurance in Vancouver Metro every day. We sell home and auto in the territories. Home and auto in some of the provinces in Canada are government auto, so we obviously in those provinces stick to just home insurance and business insurance and life insurance. But yeah, we're licensed nationwide. We'll be in Ontario in the next 2 months, and we'll basically be nationwide except for Quebec.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Now since you've launched in 2012, have you guys had any other online competitors, or is your main competitor strictly the big guys like you talked about before, like TV?
So, yeah, that's a good question. We haven't seen anyone else that does the exact same thing as us. We obviously have traditional brokerages that have been in business for 80 years that throw up a website and claim, hey, we're an online broker because maybe they provide online quotes. We're a full start to finish experience. So not only do we display the quotes, you can purchase, electronically sign, print off proof of insurance, log in later, file a claim, manage your policy. So there isn't anybody yet that's popped up. We kind of look at Travelocity, what Travelocity did down in the States when they first started. They basically put the travel agents out of business. We feel like our model over time has that potential. We actually sought out some consulting with a guy named Terry Jones. He's the founder of Travelocity. We met with him for a day at his house and got some consulting on kind of the pitfalls and the roadblocks that he experienced when he started that company. And there's nobody exactly like us. There's people that do pieces of what we do, but nobody exactly like us.
Now, what's the stops, say, a U.S. company like Esurance to come to Canada and become your main competitors?
So,
one of your biggest threats at the moment?
Yeah, the Canadian market is interesting. A lot of these companies, big companies in the States, think, oh yeah, we'll just go to Canada and dominate. State Farm is an example. They came up to Canada. They grew, but they about a year and a half ago sold. So State Farm across Canada is people are going to start seeing the name disappear and change over to a different company. So State Farm's leaving the market. Esurance just came, launched in Alberta. I went and did a quote process, and it was horrible. It wasn't simple. It wasn't easy to get a quote. There was a lot of questions that are very industry questions that people don't know. That with our quote process, we've built algorithms in the back to figure out answers to questions, complex questions. For instance, there's something called grid in Alberta. Anybody in Alberta has heard of grid. People don't know what their grid rate is. So Esurance, I think they will get a lot of people that go to the site, but the user experience, it really isn't very good. And the fact that people want options, if you do a quote with them, you get a price that's a 6-month price, and that's your option. You take it or leave it. With us, we'll display the top 7 insurance companies in Canada. You can play with your coverage, and you can buy from any of them. So we really give the control to our clients and allow them to customize their coverage. And you may buy a policy from Intact, and 3 years later, on your renewal, switch to Peace Hills, but you still stay under the umbrella of Surex. Whereas if you're with Esurance, they have some losses one year, they raise the price, you're stuck with Esurance, right?
Yeah,
so I'm not too worried about it.
Okay. No, that's really interesting. That's just the first thing that popped into my head. So
It's
moving
hard to
forward,
make insurance interesting. We're in an industry where it's really hard to make. Oh wow, that's really cool. You know, it's definitely a purchase that people don't want to make. It's a it's not a something somebody gets excited about. But we're trying to make it as simple as possible.
yeah, and I think that's what you guys are trying to do is just make it as simple and as easy as possible, just so they can get it, buy it, never have to think about it until a couple of years down the road. And
Yeah.
that's what it seems like. That's the story of the game. Now moving on, I would like you to briefly describe the managerial style or strategy that you or the company has implemented to sort of take you guys from that launch stage into the stage that you guys are in now.
Yeah. So with any company that I've started or been associated with, I think your management style directly is correlated to your compensation plan. So people will act how you want them to act based on how you're compensating them, how you're paying them. So we've tried to establish and align our goals as owners of the company. So
Mm-hmm.
our brokers that handle the day-to-day customers are just as motivated, that they care just as much about answering an email at 10 o'clock at night if they have a customer that needs something, to reshopping somebody on renewal, to saving somebody from canceling their policy. And so really it's how we've set up our compensation. We feel like I would personally rather have a smaller piece of a bigger pie than a really, really big piece of a small pie. So we compensate our brokers extremely well, more than anyone else in the industry. And because of that, we can demand high expectations. They also feel like they're invested, the way our contracts with them, how we give them bonuses based on equity. We don't give them equity, but we kind of give them a little bit of an equity bonus. So when they decide to walk away from the industry, they'll have a little bit of a buyout, and that they feel like they've built something. So that's I think really important for my management style. Other than that, I try to not micromanage people, but definitely people understand what my big values are, right? And let people, basically govern themselves. Teach them what they need to do, give them all the training and support, but really empower people to come up with good ideas. I think one thing you find with big companies, we have an example. We have an insurance company in Canada that's very, very large, and they're trying to do online insurance, and they're coming to us asking us, well, how do you do this and how do you do that? And I just laugh and I say, you guys are worth billions of dollars. You guys should be able to figure out, right? It's because we're small and nimble, and we can react quickly to things. We can test things. We can take risks, and if it doesn't work, it's okay. Whereas a big company, it takes 9 months to make one decision, or innovation is squashed. And that was one of the big things that we learned from Terry Jones, was the founder of Travelocity. He wrote a book about innovation and how to what you need to do as a manager to keep innovation alive. And so that's what we focused on, is trying to let people feel like they're entitled to voice their opinion and come up with good ideas.
Okay, no, that's really
I don't know
cool.
if that answers your question, but
Yeah, no, that encapsulated it perfectly. So then, moving on to your business growth, where do you see Surex Direct in the future? What are you guys doing now to sort of build your company even further to the point where it already is?
so right now what we're doing is we're reinvesting heavily. Lance Miller, my business partner, and myself, from day one, we haven't taken a paycheck from the company. Every single penny we make, we reinvest. So we're reinvesting really rapidly right now on software development. We're rebuilding our core systems, so it's going to allow us to be more scalable. Our original software that we built, we didn't fully understand what we were building. We were on a tight budget. It's more of a really good sales tool. But this new system we're building is going to allow us to bring on a lot more groups, affiliates. I hope the next few years we'll be in hundreds of car dealerships across Canada, where somebody test drives a vehicle and they can instantly, with an app, at the dealership, put in VIN numbers and see which vehicle's cheapest to buy and for insurance, and actually sell insurance through a network of dealerships and different affiliations like that. So we're the fastest growing insurance provider in Canada. We're definitely not the biggest. We're still super small, but I see us not stopping until until every Canadian basically understands that there is an option to go online.
Mm. And so, what do you see as your biggest biggest blocks stopping you from achieving your goals, both internally in the company and externally in the industry?
I think internally is creating the right systems so we can move rapidly. For instance, with this new software, we're going to be able to go out and bring on a lot more lead generation than we have now. So just the ability to onboard new brokers, train them, because we hire people that don't have insurance history. What's the fastest, most efficient way to onboard new brokers and get them plug them into the system? We've just hired our first kind of middle manager. I hate that word. I hate middle management. But we kind of hired our first guy, and I guess for me is just, how do we maintain innovation and be able to react rapidly while we grow, but still hire managers, right?
Yeah.
So, one thing we found is every few months we're restructuring a different department or trying to figure out, the best way to do it. So for me is just how do we scale this, business? How can we do 10 times what we're doing, today? So, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's all the questions I had. I mean, going into this interview, I knew little to nothing about the insurance gig, and
when you move back to Calgary, you got to get an insurance quote.
Yeah. I know just who to go to. Which rural Alberta town are you guys in?
So we're located in a small town called McGrath. It's 2,200 people. We're just about 25 minutes north of the Montana border. So we're a farming town, bedroom community of Lethbridge, and so it's been interesting hiring people. We hire a lot of people that are now commuting out from Lethbridge to McGrath, but we strategically decide we're gonna set up shop here. We feel confident that what we offer people for employment is good enough where people will move to us, instead of us moving to Calgary or us moving to a larger market. But yeah, it's just a super small town.
That's interesting. One last question: is there any in your future growth plans? Is there any chance of ever setting up a brick and mortar shop, or are you going to strictly stay on the online?
I don't see us ever having a situation where we'll have a shop where customers will walk in. It creates a lot of inefficiencies. As a broker, you sit there, you're working on something for a client, a customer walks in, all of a sudden you get distracted. Now you spend 45 minutes with them when if you could do it online and through email and phone, you can do stuff half the time. So I don't see us ever having traditional brick and mortar offices. If people want that, then they can go. There's still plenty of traditional brokers, but that's not our cup of tea.
Okay, great. Well, that's all the questions I have. If there's anything else you would like to add or say,
no, I'm
at this point.
I've rambled enough for you. I'm good.
No, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. You answered it all, and Max provided a lot of information. So I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Sure.
And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the broadcast, and then I'll have a call you afterwards. So this has been ManDate with Con and Surex Direct. My mouse isn't working. There we go.